Riptide threatening the hopes of a Democratic blue wave in November. 8 critical primaries held across America this week with major Republican momentum building in California. And joining me now to react is RNC Chairwoman for California, Harmeet Dillon. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Heather.
So I like that. A red riptide or blue wave. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, starting here in California, we had a lot of warnings from the Democrats that there was going to be a blue wave that swamped us. We have 7 congressional races here that are in districts that Hillary Clinton carried, and so the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi were really targeting and hoping for those to go their way, and they kind of went bust. In fact, Republicans did very well. Our voters turned out in much greater numbers and percentages across California than the Democrats did, and that theme is actually carried out in the other states as well. And we've had very high enthusiasm amongst Republicans, coupled with, you know, after many months of Democrats just complaining about the president but not having their own agenda, their voters didn't turn out. So it's actually looking pretty good for us.
And that's interesting because if you listen to what people call the main news stream media, they talked a lot about Democrats turning out. Democrats are going to turn out in huge numbers. Do you think that this will keep up with Republicans as we head towards midterms, more Republicans heading out? And why do you think more Republicans are heading out to the polls?
Well, you know, I think it is very specific. It depends on the state. Certainly in the blue states like California, which is probably the most extreme, Republicans and even independent voters and many Democrats are very tired of the high taxes and the government control, the regulations that make it very hard for businesses and for families to succeed. And so in those states, I think you're seeing the effect of that. Republicans who see what's happening in other states and seeing what the president is doing nationally to help us out are enthusiastic to carry that on within their states. Whereas Democrats have been a very negative agenda that they've been proposing, and they aren't really proposing solutions for America. Even some Democratic consultants and you know, wise people in the party are warning Democrats that if all they're doing is campaigning against the president, that's not going to work for the people you know, on the ground in their states.
Yeah, people that need jobs, people that want to get ahead, support their families. It's not going to work if you just campaign on impeaching President Trump. Speaking of President Trump, here's a couple of things that he had to say on Twitter. He said, great night for Republicans. Congratulations to John Cox on a really big number in California. He can win. Even fake news CNN said the Trump impact was really big, much bigger than they ever thought possible. So much for the big blue wave. It may be a big red wave working hard. And then he went on to say many more Republican voters, as you were just discussing, showed up yesterday than the fake news thought possible. The political pundits just don't get what is going on out there, or they do get it but refuse to report the facts. Remember, Dems are high tax, high crime, easy to beat. So President Trump agrees with you, everything that you just said.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, we have to be vigilant as Republicans. We have double the number of retirements than Democrats in Congress, and so we have double the number of seats to defend. And so we can't rest on our laurels, but we have significantly higher number of pickups on the Senate side as well. And when you have Democrats in these high-tax states like California pushing more taxes, more regulation, government single-payer health care as their agenda, Americans are really alarmed about that. And so, you know, we're very happy to see the turnout. And, you know, even at the top of the ticket, like you said, in California, we have a contested race there, but there are contested races in some of the other states that had primaries this week where Republicans may pick up the seat. And, you know, newer faces. One more factor is that Republicans in Congress do have sort of a turn up and out rule where they allow room for younger people to be leaders, and so that actually fosters more retirements.
Too.
And the Democrats have a very older kind of leadership, and so, you know, we have a different face and a positive face, and we're looking forward to November.
We'll see what happens. Harmeet, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Happy to be here.
All right. Well, President Trump, in the meantime, giving an update on the First Lady's health as she steps back into the spotlight.
She went through a little rough patch, but she's doing great, and we're very proud of her. She's done a fantastic job as First Lady. The people love you. People of our country love you.
Well, the First Lady sitting beside the president at FEMA headquarters. It was her first public appearance since undergoing kidney surgery last month. Hours earlier, he slammed the media for spreading conspiracy theories about why she was out of the public eye. She was out of the public eye, but she was attending meetings, apparently, and she was recovering. Give her a little time. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, in the meantime, slamming CNN.
You constantly ask the same question over and over and over again.
That's the job.
And expect different answers.
That's the
and
job.
then get mad when the answers don't change. No, the job is to get information and report the news. Unfortunately, you guys quit reporting the news.
Sanders facing off against anchor Chris Cuomo. She went on to say you'd be, quote, hard-pressed to find many stories written without bias. Good for her for going on there. And Vladimir Putin shutting down the haters and the body shamers who have something to say about all those shirtless photos of him. The Russian president claiming he's not at all embarrassed of flaunting his figure for the whole world to see. When he was asked about it during a trip to Austria, he says, quote, when I'm on vacation, I see no need to hide behind the bushes, and there is nothing wrong with that. All righty. There is a picture to go with your breakfast. And we'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Freedom Caucus, Mark Meadows, had this to say.
We had good discussions on how you take a DACA population.
Show me the Carfax. Start your used car search at the all-new Carfax.com.
New super crispy grill.
Get a bridge into a legal immigration system.
Now, complicating matters, moderate Republicans working with Democrats appear closer to reaching that magic number of votes, 218 needed on a so-called discharge petition, which would go around House leadership in force action on 4 separate bills. But Speaker Paul Ryan appears optimistic.
I feel good about the kind of conversations we're having. Swath of views within our conference on this issue, and I really do believe that there's a sweet spot.
Pinch, no stink, no sweat. Get a pair. Only at Duluth stores and DuluthTrading.com.
The Obama administration, during the negotiation of the Iran deal, misled the American people. On the one hand, they were saying that the Iranians were not going to get access to the American financial system. On the other hand, they actually granted Iran a specific license to allow them to take some of the funds. I think they did so because they were desperate to get a deal.
Big new development on Iran. GOP lawmakers accusing the Obama administration of deliberately misleading the American public by giving Iran, or attempting to give Iran, access to the U.S. financial system in its desperation to get the Iran nuclear deal done.
GOP Congressman Barry Loudermilk sits on the Homeland Security Committee and served as an intel specialist in the...
If Congress comes up with something, there's always they're giving...
You have Jarrett Blank, the former State Department coordinator for the Iran deal implementation, saying that this is just widely overblown. On the other hand, you heard the same thing we heard just a minute ago in that interview. What's your take of this?
Well, it's ironic that you had the previous administration, Barack Obama in 2007, criticize the federal government by saying too many deals were done behind closed door and just done by the stroke of the president's pen without engaging the American people or going behind the halls of Congress. That's exactly what was done here. The president's face. As a matter of fact, the president will have an easier time negotiating with the North Koreans under nuclear disarmament than negotiating with Congress to secure our border.
Well, in Congress's defense, they've been doing a pretty good job this year anyway. Both sides of the aisle demanding answers from the FBI about an informant planted in the...
Transparency that we're seeing now that's been happening in the previous administration.
Sir, what's so funny about it is that this actually didn't get done, that the administration told a couple of banks, hey, do this for us. You've got the president and the White House saying, please do this for us. And these companies, these banks were smart enough to know that this is not something that should be done, even with the White House giving them the approval.
Authority. A new report slamming James Comey's leadership at the FBI. According to
between right and wrong. They understand that President Rouhani had repeatedly said that
back when reopening the investigation in 2016. The report also calling out Obama-era Attorney General Loretta Lynch's.
They hate Israel. They hate the United States, refer to us as the Great Satan. You know, I served on a special...
For Michael Horowitz's testimony next week. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton says it's going...
And we uncovered so much of what Iran is doing, supporting Hamas and Hezbollah and helping actually bring terrorists into the Middle East and to the United States. And yet this
affirms essentially, it looks like, that he did the right thing. Ironically,
helping get into the hands of the Iranians, which ultimately ends in the hands of terrorists.
You know, on one hand,
the Clinton email investigation, not so much the sham investigation itself, but the fact is that it was a sham investigation. Rather than confront it directly, he attacked Hillary Clinton to distract from the fact that he was protecting her.
Well, first of all, this entire deal should have gone through Congress, and the reason the president...
For more than a year, Horowitz has been reviewing how the FBI and DOJ handled the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server.
All right, the countdown to the Singapore showdown is on. World leaders...
When you look at the deal was so lopsided, one-sided in their favor, all the money, he even went as far as secretly providing them $1.7 billion in American...
Fate of 12 Japanese citizens abducted by North Korea in the 1970s and 1980s, a long time ago.
Terrorists. And so we should have, this should have gone through Congress. It should have been a treaty, which would have never happened. And that's exactly why the president went the route that he did.
It is interesting that whenever you hear Obama supporters, and typically Democrats will say, you know, this was their way of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They don't understand what conservatives didn't like about this release, calling that move a death warrant.
President Trump hosting his first White House dinner celebrating the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. The president offering a message of unity, welcoming diplomats from Muslim countries to the iftar dinner, breaking the day-long fast.
The CMT Music Awards, a rocking fan-voted show also known as...
They've continued to violate the sanctions we agreed to in the bill, but the money that
turned up at a performance-packed CMTs, including a standout moment by Carrie Underwood, the most
that hates the United States. They hate freedom. They hate everything that we stand for. And we know that they're going to violate the sanctions. We know that they have continued to try to develop weapons. Look, as part of the agreement, they banned us access to their military installations, which is, if anybody in the right mind would understand, if you're going to develop a nuclear weapon, you just move it to your military installations and deny access to the inspectors. This is how asinine this entire deal.
Dan and Shay nabbing the duo trophy
of leading from behind of the previous administration, which basically we understand now was behind the backs of the American people and behind the backs of Congress.
All right. Sir, thank you so much, Congressman, for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
19 minutes after the hour, she threatened to harm herself, so police came to help. So why is Chelsea Manning outraged that officers did a welfare check?
I want to thank President Donald John Trump.
Season in Nashville, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
So why is this happy moment triggering Democrats? Jackie Ibanez is here reading your comments next. Morning.